Yes, Richard.
Oh, there it is.
So here we are for round 14 of the AOR season 14 Assist League, PC Assist League 2. And coming into this, Richie has just overtaken Storm for the championship lead. And as we head into Singapore, there's only 7 points separating them, so it's looking to be quite an interesting championship fight heading into the final 6 rounds. So here we have the qualifying comparison with Richie B on the left and QRL Storm again on the right. This time Storm actually putting in a much better qualifying performance, both going purple through sector 1, but you can see Richie doing his right at the death of qualifying, whereas Storm did it just before the end. Of course, it was actually his penultimate lap.
Does anyone know why my qualifying screen is black?
Enough to beat Richie and his PB. So yeah, as you can see now, as we head through sector 2, they're still quite neck and neck. Richie probably slightly ahead as we pass into the left-hander in the middle of sector 2. You can see he's actually got traffic in front of him, and I think that's bar light, so he's going to be getting a slight slipstream off him, but of course he will get the dirty air effect, which will probably slow him down a bit. But you can see Richie again probably about 2/10 up on Storm, but it's much closer than it was initially. Of course Storm, I mean, this is actually one of his favourite tracks, and you saw his result in Monaco, which was another street track, and it was pretty shocking. Richie, of course, really good at street tracks. Of course, he won Monaco by nearly a minute, even after getting disqualified in qualifying. But you can see now, as you go through the last sector, Storm actually not too far away, and considering that Richie has been far superior in the dry in the last few races, it actually looks like it might actually be a bit of a closer race than maybe the last few races, which Richie has sort of dominated. Going on to the race, you can actually see it's raining, so this is actually going to suit Storm a lot. Of course, last time it rained was actually all the way back in Spain, and that was the last race Storm won. So you can see, you get off the start. I mean, this will be on board with Bart now. Yeah, it's quite a mean to be quite an okay start. Of course, he's got Cassie right ahead of him, who's actually opting to go on intermediates. Of course, he will dry out a bit later, and Cassie's made a really good start up into second, but he's pushed Storm quite slightly wide. I think he also had to give back quite a few positions, and Storm actually has actually had to give place back to Cassie. But of course Cassie dropping back, so Storm's probably going to opt to stay out in front because he's going to lose less time. But you can see Barlight set a really good start now, all the way up into 5th from I think what was 8th in qualifying. He's going to get Bellamy as well, so he's up into 4th, and TRL Banter's already disconnected, he's having problems in qualifying as well. So Barlight all the way up into 3rd. You can see Storm's actually got a 5-second stop-go penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place from Cassie, but Cassie sort of launched up the inside of quite a few cars and pushed Storm wide, so I don't know if there's much he can do. But you see now Menk taking Barlight around the outside, and that's Menk up into a podium positions. So this is a replay on board with Cassie, so just see on board with his perspective the incident he had with Storm. So you can see into turn 1 on the intermediates, braking slightly later. Of course, it's quite hard to brake in the intermediates. He completely cuts the corner, gets an illegal overtake, and keeps the positions back, which he illegally got. But Storm also getting a legal overtake, so I don't really understand how that one really worked. We can see now he actually drops back down all the way to 8th. Of course, the intermediate's not the best tyres right now, but I mean, considering if he can actually stretch them out, they might actually come into their own. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on in the coming laps when it begins to dry. Meanwhile, you see Storm already putting Richie under pressure, so that's what I was saying. Storm much stronger in the wet, so it actually looks like he can have a fight. Meanwhile, Bellamy is trying to force his way up the inside of Barlight. The Renault's doing really well today, 3rd and 5th, but you see Barlight taking no prisoners and trying to defend from Bellamy, who was hounding him from behind. But yeah, you can see Barlight already got a bit of front wing damage, so I don't know where he's got that from, but you can see now just trying to defend from the 2 cars behind him. Meanwhile, as he head on to lap 2, Storm was really caught up to Richie, so even after that penalty, he is determined to get ahead of Richie. Of course, he did it in Spain, although Richie did make a mistake, and he's made another mistake here. This is a slight loss of traction. This is going to allow Storm out the inside, and Storm, for the first time since Spain, will actually take the net lead of the race. And Richie has actually outbraked himself, has actually lost quite a bit of time, so this is going to help Storm out. Of course, he needs to pull a 5-second buffer on Richie if he wants to actually jump in for the next phase. Of course, as we know, Richie much stronger in the dry, so when it actually dries out by the end of the race, Richie will begin to close him in. So it's pivotal. Storm pulls out the gap, and you can see by lap 5, that's what he's done. He's going purple again and again. The gap's all down to what will be 3 seconds, so if he can keep this up, Storm actually might be able to come out ahead. Meanwhile, you can see Cassie actually went up to 7th, but he actually had a few problems with the inters. He's gone straight on and lost 2 positions, so it's definitely not inters yet, but I mean, it is beginning to come into, they are beginning to come into their own. I mean, the track is drying ever so slightly. You can see by lap 7, it's actually dried out enough for Richie to go into inters. I mean, Storm has still stayed out, but you can see Richie looking up on the wets, which actually shows it actually might be time for inters, so this might be a really bold strategy call from Richie if he can undercut Storm. You can see now he's going to come out on what will be probably P5, might be behind Bellamy. You can see now Barlight is going to come out ahead of Richie. see Richie pitting on the right left, and confirm that is for intermediates. So yeah, Richie definitely opted for a bold strategy. I mean, it might actually be too early. We don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he does on the on this outlap. He might be able to jump Storm, but again, it all depends on the transition period. But you can see now as we head into sector 2, Richie actually looking quite comfortable on the tyres, and you can see actually as we go as well. You can see that's actually Bellamy in the wall on wet tyres. So maybe it is time for inters. The wet runner's actually struggling on this lap, so Storm might have made a tactical blunder, and he also has to serve a 5-second stop go, so it's going to be really close on the exit. You can see Nakainu as well has also made a mistake, so it's not looking good for Storm right now. He stayed on the wet, and lots of his compatriots who actually also stayed out on the wet, actually coming to blows with the track conditions and finding them. Now Storm, the others been struggling. Yeah, you can see he's actually lost a bit of traction there, so it's definitely time for inters. Storm might have made a mistake. You can see cutting over the chicane there. It's definitely not wet, and Richie might be gaining, but of course he was stuck in a bit of traffic, so it's going to be interesting to see where Storm can come out in relation to Richie. Of course he has to serve his stop go. I mean, he had a 5-second gap also to Richie, so it's going to be really interesting to see where they come out. Of course, this is for the championship lead right now. Storm only 7 points behind, so if he wins the race, he will tie Richie in the championship. Because right now it seems like a 2-horse race. You can see, as we head into the pits, we have to Storm has to serve a 5-second stop go as he goes on to intermediates. It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out. You can see Barlight as well going on to inters, so it's definitely time. And these runners have sort of made a little blunder here, because it's definitely time for inters. Probably a lap ago. So you see Richie now coming round. Where is he going to come out in relation to Storm? Of course he was 5 seconds behind, but with the 5-second stop go, and of course Richie making what seems to be the better call. It's going to be interesting to see where they emerge. You can see that Storm on the left hand side. Richie's going to rejoin just ahead of him. He's going to be side by side. And Storm's actually going to get a lag spike, and that's going to drop him even further behind Richie. Of course he had a few lag spikes in Belgium and Britain, and he's also suffered a bit. As a result here, it's probably dropped about 2 seconds behind. You can see now Barlight making a little mistake, getting a warning for his seam track limit. So of course it maybe is still a crossover period, but you can see Menk is actually pitted onto wet tyres again. So he's actually gone into the pits and pitted onto wet tyres. And you can see, so he's given on it later into the lap. Menk really struggling, and he's in the wall. So it's made another strategy. It's another strategy one for Menk, and he was in a podium position. That podium position, and you can see now Barlight is in that 3rd place. You can see Cassie. We were looking to see what he was doing, and he's actually in 3rd place in all of this. So his strategy from the beginning definitely working. Now you can see on board with Storm a bit more lag as he's closing up to Richie, but I mean this time not actually getting lag spikes, so he's still well within Richie. And you can see he's going on to lap 11, all over the back of Richie. So it'll be interesting to see if he can actually make a move. Of course he is much faster in the inters and the wets, so he's going to have to try to pull away in the wet whilst the track is still wet before Richie really turns up the pace in the drive. You can see now Storm's going to get a good run. He's going to pull to the outside of Richie, forcing him narrow. He's going to look for the cutback. As you can see Richie forced really narrow. He's going to get try a compromise run. This is going to allow Storm the cutback. He's going to get the traction. He's actually going to get the lead of the race. So Storm, after sending 2 laps behind Richie, his funding got past, and that's exactly what he needed. And even with a 5-second stop goal, Storm actually looks in control of the race, and he looks like he actually might be able to thwart with Richie's momentum. Of course, Richie winning all of the last few rounds he's participated. Of course, only been beaten by Banter in Canada, but even then it was because he disconnected. But you can see now Storm has made a mistake, and he's lost a bit of his end plate, so he's pulled out another 4-second gap to Richie, and now he's actually made a mistake. Meanwhile, battle for the podium position, Firelight has actually closed up back up in Cassie, of course, on really worn tyres. So it'll be interesting to see if Firelight can actually overtake him. But you can see Cassie braking really early, so you can see those tyres definitely are nearly sort of shot. I mean, he's been on them for nearly 18 laps now, so they must be nearing about 70% wear. Meanwhile, you can see Barlight now trying to look to the inside, but Cassie still has it covered, and is actually his strategy looking like it has been the better one. Even so, he has had to stretch these tyres a hell of a long way. You can see Barlight now is probably going to overtake him for the podium spot. I care to mention that also Interactive Gamer, who's actually just behind these two, so they squabble too much. It's actually allowing him to catch up. You can see the 70 hour behind, but here comes Barlight around the outside of Cassie. He's going to try to do the cutback now as Cassie defends his line valiantly, but here goes Barlight late on the brakes on the new tyres around the outside, and that's an amazing move. Even if Cassie was on worn tyres, and Barlight takes a podium spot, so a hell of a good move there. And he's now well behind Richie and Storm, who've sort of been in a league of their own in this race. But you see, Barlight still got the front wing damage, so didn't actually team to amend them in the pit stop. So that might mean, because Storm has a similar amount of damage on his front wing, might mean Storm's pit crew actually don't fix it onto his next stop. so this actually won't be helping Richie. So you see now Storm actually getting a 3-second time penalty, so I mean, it looked like he was in control, but now with a broken front wing and 3-second time penalties, the control is back in Richie's hands, and Richie, of course, closing in a bit as a result of a few mistakes. But of course, the gap's still actually 6 seconds, so Storm being able to pull out the gap. You can see now that from traffic, that was borderline now. He's got Banter up ahead, been disconnecting about 5 times this race. We can see now Bylight is in for what will be dry tyres. It definitely looks too early, there's still rain patches, but it's going to be interesting for the front runners to see when they actually should pit. Of course, Richie making the better strategy call last time. Storm won't want to be caught out again, especially as he probably needs a new front wing. And what you see Bylight actually getting a new front wing. He's going to exit the pit lane, will be 5th place. So if this is a good call, you see Bylight will be getting a lot. Meanwhile, Storm a bit more lag as he overtakes Panther. So that must have been a hard enough moment. Of course, a lag spike definitely ruin his chances of probably winning a race. That's definitely something he doesn't need. Meanwhile, Bylight now as he exits the pit, was actually going to get a 5-second stop go for crossing the white line. So he had a warning before, and also he's going to lose the traction. He's going to go straight into the wall, and he's going to lose his front wing. So it's travesty for Bylight, who's in a podium spot, and now he's actually going to be, he's probably going to be just at the outskirts of the point by the time he limps this car back into the pits with broken front wing. And again, he's going to win it again into the wall. He's now lost his whole front wing. And Bylight's race has just turned upside down. He's still in 5th place, amazingly. Just shows how spread out the field were. But you can see now Menk is going to overtake. And you can see Cassie and Oliver also on the dry tyres. So a bit of a circus show here. And all of these guys are going to suffer as a result. I don't know why they've pitted, but you can see now it's actually beginning to dry up towards the end of lap 21. So Bylight is actually going to come into dry tyres again, because there's no point going out on inters again. So here comes Bylight to replace his tyres. And he's now down to 8th, so he's also got a penalty to serve. But you can see now, Storm, he's actually in for dry tyres as well. So, and so is Richie. So it is definitely time for dry tyres. So I think Bylight got in a bit too early. But you can see now Richie's got a 5-second stop go, and that's going to actually ruin his chances probably of getting the win. But I mean, Storm doesn't know that yet. So of course, Storm will still be fighting and trying to keep Richie behind. But this definitely put Richie on the back foot. However, Storm does have a 3-second penalty and also has front wing damage, so if Richie can catch up and pull a 2-second gap, then it's definitely still in his hands. Meanwhile, you can see now Bylight coming in again, and yeah, he's going to have to face his stop go. He's going to have to replace his front wing, and it's been an absolutely horrible last few laps for Bylight. He's going to come out with what will be 9th or 10th, and yeah, it's just been he's gone from a podium all the way down to 10th. He's now right behind Banter, so it's going to be quite a good fight for P8. But I mean, yeah, talking about the battle for the lead, it's definitely looking close, because of course Richie up 3 seconds behind Storm. I mean, he's got a whole front wing, unlike Storm. He's got the pace in the dry, and also he has got a penalty. Bylight again has crashed into the same place, crashed the lap before, and Bylight now down to 10th. He's nearly last place, and what a horrible couple of laps for Bylight. And again, he's going to have to limp back to the pit. Meanwhile, you can see Storm now beginning to lap a few of the back markers. You can see Menk going straight on is actually going to cause even more front wing damage for Storm. So not really the brightest thing to do by Menk. You can see now Bylight is actually going to get past Menk. So Menk definitely making a mistake at the chicane, going to lose a lot of positions as a result. So it's just showing that the dry tyres maybe are the better tyres, but they're still quite hard to control at this stage because the rain is still coming down. Meanwhile, Bylight trying to overtake AOR Banter's ghost car, but it seems to solidified on him. So even so, he has the disconnected sign on it. There seems to be a bit of lag going on, and as a result, Bylight has lost even more of his front wing. So his race has just gone bad to even worse. So Bylight is having one of the worst races of the season so far for him. So I'm sure he will be infuriated. Again, he's lost even more of his front wing. I mean, that ghost car is just slowing down on the apexes, and that's really must be infuriating for Bylight, who finally gets past up into P7. So it's been quite a good comeback drive, but I mean, he's still probably going to have to pit for that front wing. Meanwhile, Storm up in front is going to come round to walk set the purple lap, but Richie straight away is going to be catching. You see there, 2 seconds faster. So Richie definitely has the pace in the dry, especially with that whole front wing. So Richie definitely can win this if he can pull a 2-second gap. If that is the case, Storm will try to campaign his 5-second stop go with the stewards, because of course he probably feels it was unjust. Because of course Cassie did kind of cut the corner, but you can see now Richie's caught up to Storm, and Storm's going to get another little lag spike, and that's going to allow Richie to be side by side. Richie can have the inside line, and of course, the more downforce, and he gets the position. And Storm now is on the back foot, because Richie can easily pull out 2 seconds in the next few laps, but he's made a mistake. This is going to allow Storm back through. So Richie has just thrown away his chance of securing the win, and now he's going to still have a fight on our hands. But Richie, of course, has a chance. So we head into what will be the heart of the middle sector. He's going to break late. Storm's going to break early with his front wing damage, and that's going to cause Richie front wing damage. So now they're on equal footing now, and now Richie's chances of winning the race are even slimmer, because of course on this game, unfortunately, there is a stop and go glitch where if you don't serve your stop and go penalty, you get a 10-second penalty instead of a 5-second penalty. So Richie will be in trouble. Meanwhile, you can see Barlight again. He's going side by side with, I think that's Tiro Bantu, who's actually reconnected, so it's not his go car anymore. But Banter's taking him round the outside, and now Barlight is down to 8th place. So yeah, Banter definitely had the pace. He qualified P3, but because of his disconnections, has sort of been out of the race. Meanwhile, you can see now Richie closing up to Storm, and he's going to have a second bite of the cherry now. He got past on lap 26 after losing his front wing 2 laps ago. He's finally going to go side by side with Storm. Storm's going to try to hold it around the outside. Of course, the championship leads at stake. Storm trying everything he can do, even so Richie has seen the faster guy in the last 2 races. Can he hold on to the championship fight? He's 7 points adrift right now, but they're going to go side by side, and this is for the championship. There or thereabouts. This will play key roles, of course, a 14-point swing, depending on who wins. You can see now Storm managed to successfully defend, so resilient defense, but he's going to go deep, and it's going to allow Richie up the inside. So all of that resilient defense is absolutely nothing, because Richie gets past and will actually take P1, but still he needs to pull out a gap to Storm, which he can do, but Storm's going to still try to hassle and harry him. You can see now trying to pull to the outside, forcing Richie narrow like he did on lap 12. Can he do a cutback like he did 17 laps prior? Here he goes. He's going to go side by side. Not going to quite get the traction, but he's going to be there or thereabouts. Going to try to throw it up the inside. Richie's going to leave him in the room, very sportsmanlike. Storm again going to try to go for a cutback, but Richie has secured his position and he's in the lead. So he's on the lead on track, but of course he's still got a 5-second stop though. But Storm doesn't know that. Storm still thinks he's on the back foot with his penalty, and of course Richie has been clean on the last few races. Meanwhile, Menk pulls off a similar move he did to Barlight on that run, and Barlight is down to 9th. He's made another mistake now. This is going to allow Borderline through. So once again, it's been a horrible race, and he's also going to have to allow Intergalactic Gentleman through. Of course, he's getting lapped now. Intergalactic actually on a podium for the first time since Monaco. I mean, he's been incredibly consistent this season, turning up on most of the races, if not all of them. And as a result, is 4th in the championship, but of course hasn't actually gotten many podiums, and this will be a really good result for him if he can keep him up. Of course, he's in the championship fight with Tiro Banter, who's also pressuring him for P4. Meanwhile, you can see now Storm has caught up to Richie. Well, he's kept in contact with Richie, so it still looks like a battle for first. Meanwhile, Barlight made another mistake, and yeah, his race has just gone even worse still, and yeah, it's definitely a race to forget for Barlight, who's going to have to let past Billamy now, who's having the race of his life now in P4. So Billamy, after a really disappointing result in Italy after getting taken out, and of course in Spa as well, where he suffered from lots of lag issues, he seems to actually have resolved these issues, and as a result it's actually come back in P4. So very good result for Billamy if he can hold on to it. Meanwhile, Storm is closing up to Richie, and I think Billamy's even quite close to Intergalactic, so battles for both 3rd and 1st place right now. As we head on to the final laps, Richie looks like he's got the lead he needs, but Storm's still trying to pressure for the win. Of course, he needs this win desperately. Richie definitely has the momentum, and as we head into the middle of sector 1, there's actually Banter parked on the middle of the track, and Richie has broken his front wing. He's crashed into a ghost car, and of course on Storm's screen it wasn't there, so Storm's just wondering what's happened with Richie. He's thinking he's maybe crashed into a wall or something. So Richie, very unfortunate there of a Codemasters glitch, and that has actually ruined his chances of winning, because now Storm will be able to pull a gap. You can see now as we head on to the middle of the end of sector 2, Storm has pulled a 5-second gap on Richie. So Richie, on the last lap, has lost the race. I mean, he probably wasn't going to win it yet anyway with his penalties, but I mean, that is just gutting. And that, as a result, Storm will actually tie him in the championship fight with only 6 rounds to go. So it's really looking intense right now, and that's really what Storm needed, because if Richie won, I mean, definitely with his momentum and his extra pace, it definitely looked like Richie was probably going to go on to take the title. But now it looks like we have a fight on our hands, and as long as it rains in the next few races, Storm definitely has a chance. You can see now Barlight, he's lost all of his front wing. Will actually cross the line in 10th, only beating Nakayanu, who's had an even worse race. And yeah, that's definitely a race to forget for Barlight. Normally in the top 5, but in the last 2 races hasn't had the best of luck. Meanwhile, you can see now Storm taking the top of the podium. Richie B and Kuro Storm tied on points, You can see Dal C on 3rd place, Intergalactic in 4th, extending his lead over Gravel Trap. Of course, really good result from Bellamy, who actually jumps a few positions up into 12th, and you see the rest of the order sort of the same. So yeah, see you in the next race in Malaysia, and it should be a cracker.